Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today on the future of airport communications. My name is Cian O'Sullivan. I'm the account manager for Europe for Simpleway, and I'll be your host today. So let me kick this off with a quick video clip on a slightly dystopian future from the sci-fi movie Minority Report. So that's slightly dark, but it does highlight, I think, one direction we're already heading towards, which is personalized communications. So we might not have retina scanners tracking our every move, but consider, if you will, how we communicate and receive information now today. So things like Twitter and Facebook and personalized news feeds, wearable tech, you name it. So things are constantly evolving and changing from the norm. So now picture yourself as an individual, a traveler, and not as somebody within the industry, and consider this as a customer journey. So you book your flight on the smartphone, and immediately, as soon as you've purchased your ticket, you're presented with a screen that asks you how you'll get to the airport. If you'll click on drive, it will save a route for you and immediately book you a parking bay and pay for the parking bay, or give you directions to the drop-off area if someone is just dropping you off. Or perhaps you're taking public transport, so with a single tap you'll get the timetables and the ability to book your seat immediately. Your smartphone is becoming your personal travel agent and personal assistant. It's building your personalized itinerary and booking everything all along the way. It would also work with this at the destination airport, so your Uber or other mode of transport will be booked and waiting to take you to your hotel. You'll have one seamless journey, even with built-in safeguards. So when we're talking about these safeguards, so for example, perhaps there's a problem at a train station which will cause you a delay and miss your flight. So no problem. The technology will recognize this and advise you that you'll miss your flight if you stay on the train, and automatically offer you alternatives such as having a taxi waiting for you at the next station. Using Bluetooth beacons, we can start guiding passengers to where they need to go, be it check-in, security, or to the gate. Again, all by personalized communications via notifications specialized for the individual. And of course, we'll be able to do that in the language of the passenger's choice, and all without them having to select the language from a list. We already have the ability to know which language a smartphone is set up in, and can therefore tailor the language automatically and accordingly. So this doesn't mean necessarily the end of traditional information screens or voice announcements, but they might change too to become more personal. For example, by allowing your phone to talk to FIDS, the information it displays can become personalized too. Similarly, voice announcements remain, but instead of being heard in one or two or three languages, the voice announcements could be sent to the passenger's smartphone so they can hear it in the language that they want. But how far away are we from this vision? So, while the video clip on the outset is slightly unsettling and set in the year 2054, I don't think we're too far away from that now. So, with the broad picture painted, let's start to dig a little bit deeper. So just to give you guys some background information about who we are. So our company is Simpleway. So we're a software company located here in Prague. We've offices in New York, Sao Paulo, and Hong Kong. And what we do is we specialize in passenger information system solutions for airports, metros, trams, and all major transportation hubs. But the vast majority of our clients are indeed airports. We've been working with passenger communication systems for over 10 years now with airports worldwide, and we think we've got pretty good experience in this field. We don't make hardware, but we do make software that fits in with almost any hardware, PA devices, kiosks, display screens, and much, much more. So because we are staffed with developers, we're a software company, we're always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. I guarantee that any crazy idea you might have, put it to one of our developers, they'll stroke their chin, think for a moment, and quietly say, yes, that's possible. So, by way of a mildly interesting aside, one of our tech people has actually got a microchip embedded under his skin on the back of his hand. The chip contains information about him and is also loaded with Bitcoin currency, so he can literally pay for his shopping by just waving his hand. So, boundaries well and truly pushed. So, what's already possible? So, in our eyes, a lot actually. We already have the technology that's capable of, amongst other things, to communicate in a variety of different languages to all international passengers using more traditional communication channels. So, first, I'll just talk pretty briefly about FIDs. So, I'm sure you guys are all aware of what FIDs are. They're the most universally used airport communication channel. When we're talking about them, let's give an example. So, the example we always kind of harp on about is the Chinese passenger arriving into a European airport. So, in the past, the passenger would have to get off, and the first bit of communication from the airport they'd see would be a FID screen in a language they don't understand, with information that they might need to catch to a connecting flight. So, the gate agents cannot be expected to speak every language, and so a solution was required. Today, thankfully, this is not really an issue. FIDs can show relevant information in a number of different languages: Mandarin, Bulgarian, English, French. The possibilities are now endless. So we've seen a development in terms of resolution. Today we've LCD or LED screens. Video walls are becoming more popular too as a way to communicate to a large number of passengers at once. It seems that the future of FIDs is moving to better resolution, using screens that are 4K, for example. Additionally, we're seeing wireless and standalone screens and even holograms being used in airports around the world to communicate to passengers. So, what about traditional PA announcements? So, you have manual announcements, text-to-speech clients, but what we believe is that automated announcements are the best way for an airport to go. The advantages being that it means the gate agent does not personally need to make the same announcement again all day in different languages. With PA automated announcements, it can be done in a vast amount of languages, hundreds of languages. And from our side, it's always nice to hear a professional voice talent as opposed to a text-to-speech engine, which it doesn't really sound so natural. But while automated voice announcements are good, you do need to consider noise pollution. So there's no sense in me hearing, for a flight I'm not boarding, 50 gates away, announcement. It doesn't make sense. So through the creation of custom zones, audio can be played at the right level to ensure it's just heard by the relevant passengers and none other. Another traditional method that we're seeing change is interactive kiosks. So in the past, airport kiosks' primary function was wayfinding. So you'd click a few buttons on the screen and it would show you the 3D picture of an airport, where to go to your gate, where the shops are, and where the restaurants are. But today, they've become more multifunctional. So oftentimes today we're seeing them as self-check-in kiosks and even baggage drops. You can see them as Wi-Fi hotspots and sometimes even free online call stations. So in this case, you just pop in your earphones and you can have a free call to anywhere in the world. In the future, we suggest they might even double up as chatbot stations, something I'll come back to shortly. But first, let me say a word or two about mobile notifications. Today, it's not uncommon for airports and airlines to use mobile notifications to communicate to passengers. It's a great way to send personalized content, and it's going to become increasingly important channel. There's a number of ways for airports to make use of the instrument of communication, be it SMS, email, social media notifications, mobile pop-ups, Wi-Fi landing pages, and apps. For mobile communication, we have developed apps in the past for our clients as requested. However, we don't necessarily believe this is the best route to go down. As an alternative way of communicating with passengers, we encourage our clients to consider Wi-Fi landing pages and social media push notifications. So we see landing pages as a great avenue for expansion. They currently aren't used to provide much personalized information, if any. And from our side, why not? So you already know the flight the passenger is on. Why not provide the passenger a personalised message in their own language, route to their gate, time it will take, retail offers they may be interested in? So these days, almost every man, woman, and child has a smartphone, and airports are starting to realise the possibilities this opens up in terms of real time communication. The ability to communicate to passenger on the go via their phone opens up new avenues for wayfinding, additional advertising opportunities, and new revenue opportunities for the airport. So let me give you a quick wayfinding example. So imagine you receive a personalized message saying, "Hi, we're now boarding. You must leave this area in the next 5 minutes if you want to make your flight." So besides this message, you'll be shown how to reach your gate via a Google Map type navigation tool. You click "I understand" and you no longer receive notifications. If you don't click "I understand," the system assumes you haven't checked your phone, and so the nearest PA device or FIDS plays a message for you based on your location. So that's enough about mobile notifications. Let's talk about a use case. So I want to talk about irregular operations. So today, airport security is something which is of the highest priority. Airports are investing heavily in new 3D body scanning machines, walk-through systems, and biometric technologies. Arguably, this is the most important area for clear, consistent communication, but it can be a real challenge. Let's look at an example. So say there's a fire at Terminal 1. How do you evacuate people quickly and calmly? Where do they congregate? Do you need to inform passengers at other terminals? So in our eyes, timing is everything. So as we saw last year when people cheered as Usain Bolt won his 3rd gold medal, people mistook this for screams and gunfire in a terminal. So panic spread quickly and it spread widely. So how do you stop this or at least manage this? Communication must be key, but it has to be clear and consistent, ideally in multiple languages and multiple channels. But when you are communicating via multiple channels, the message needs to be consistent. If your messages differ, people will not trust the information that they're receiving. But in our eyes, they must do more. So the message can't just tell people there's a fire and to evacuate. The message must be reassuring and, importantly, give directions to congregation points. At this point, the FIDS should give wayfinding maps, and this can be zoned, of course, thereby making the maps accurate and with the ability to direct people to multiple congregation areas that are most appropriate for them. People will be able to then navigate their way quickly and easy to the congregation points. So Simpleway already does this, so this isn't essentially a new technology, but it isn't one that's widely being used. We already have a system that can simultaneously communicate via multiple channels at the touch of just one single button and automatically notify the emergency services, the fire, the police, the ambulances, that there is a situation. So what of the future for mass notifications during irregular operations? So I'll speak of the Internet of Things a little later on this webinar, but suffice to say the Internet of Things could and will revolutionize this area of operations. With the ability to have machines talking to each other, the messages will be more consistent and more focused. So just in terms of the more general security in the future, we foresee biometric e-gates becoming the norm. People will be able to self-check-in and share just the right amount of information about themselves to allow for proper validation process, but without compromising their own personal data, particularly to cybersecurity threats. Having looked at traditional and emerging technologies, let me now turn toward future technologies. New technologies are likely to change how we view airports. Let's talk about the rise of the self-service airport. Today, airports are investing more and more into self-service technologies to help streamline the passenger's path through the airport. So this includes self-check-in kiosks, baggage drops, and security points with biometric capabilities. It's been proven that these systems greatly decrease the long waiting queues and time to reach the gates, which many of us have experienced in the past. Some of the advantages of biometrics besides speed is that it eliminates the need to have a physical ID on you, and it eliminates thus the chance of losing it. Also, if you do absentmindedly misplace it, there is the potential that this can lead to huge issues should it end up in the wrong hands. So, from our perspective, these technologies are going to be at the forefront in the next few years if just in time boarding is to become a reality. This is something that we as passengers would really enjoy. If we can get rid of the need to be at an airport 2 or 2.5 hours in advance of your flight, but to know exactly the time you need to leave to get to your flight on time with streamlined boarding processes, no queuing. This can only be done with technology. It requires, for example, the calculation of traffic congestion, walking time within the airport, and of course, factor in some time for duty-free shopping. This, we believe, is a challenge sure to be handled by the Internet of Things. If just-in-time boarding is to become a reality, the demands on channels of communication will definitely change. So it'll mean passengers no longer waiting for long stretches at the gates, so therefore airports will need to be able to communicate to them mobily on the go. There's a couple of different ways to do this. First, which is beacons. So with the rise of Bluetooth beacon technology, airlines and airports are very likely to start using this technology to provide better customized service to passengers as they travel through the airport. So beacons make it possible for airports and airport vendors to know where people are and send them relevant information. So this information could be their gate number, the baggage carousel, the current flight status, or even a passenger's favorite coffee shop if nearby. So although today the technology exists, there is still some accuracy limitations, let's say, but I believe they'll be ironed out in the years to come. So additionally, an airport could use this technology for wayfinding solutions, to send personalized notifications, or even in retail. So within the retail section, we're already seeing low energy beacons be used to inform potential customers of sales offers, direct to their smartphone, tailored to the individual customer, and it can also be used as a payment gate. So one other alternative to beacons that we're looking at is Wi-Fi routers. So they'll already know your location as you pass through the airport. Your device will be pinging the nearest router. Thus, this is a good alternative for beacons because the airports don't need to invest heavily into new technology. So these can be used as well to provide the passenger notifications about their flight status or retail options. But of course, all this is changing too with the advent of wearable tech. So today, new technologies are constantly hitting the consumer shelves. Technologies like Apple Watch and Google Glass give an insight into what's to come in the future in terms of wearable technology. So, while neither have been fully embraced, I'd say, by the consumers in the same fashion the iPod or smartphone has, it's just at the moment, as of yet, it's likely that this will all change and become standard in the years to come. The same way you expect your phone when you buy it to come with a camera, for example. With this in mind, it's likely that these tools will greatly change the way people get around, especially in time-sensitive situations such as the airport. It's certainly something an airport needs to be aware of and plan for the future. Looking at the Google Glasses, this is a clear case of augmented reality. So just kind of a quick definition. So augmented reality basically is the blending of the virtual reality and real life. So as developers can create images within applications, they blend in with the contents in the real world. So with AR, users are able to interact with virtual contents and able to distinguish between the two. So one kind of avenue that's potential for airports with this is, why not offer your passengers 30 minutes free Netflix viewing straight to their Google Glass? This could be a standard offering, first 30 minutes free, pay for longer, or in terms of a delay, it could be to make the passenger experience wait more enjoyable. It would be an additional source of revenue for the airport and create synergistic partnerships with companies such as Spotify and Netflix that could keep the passengers happy while they wait. In fact, some airlines have already signed exclusive deals with Spotify and Netflix to provide onboard entertainment on their flights. It's something for the airports to consider. So we can't talk about the future of airport communications without considering the rise of artificial intelligence and personal AI assistants. So this is one of the hottest topics in the tech world right now is AI. You'll hear people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg talking about it in the news. So some of you might be employing it in your own house in the shape of the Amazon Echo. So for those unaware of what the Amazon Echo is, let me give you a quick few examples of what it can do at home. So you open your eyes in the morning and you start having the Echo helping you with your preparations for the day. Alexa, you say, this is the word that wakes up the Echo. So turn on the coffee machine. Alexa, read me the headlines from The Guardian. Alexa, turn on the shower to 26 degrees. So without leaving your bed, you can already have your favorite music playing, coffee made, listen to the news headlines, check your flight details. The possibilities are endless. So what does this mean for airports? So the same is true within airports. Again, let me give you another example. So one that might show how AI learns and can predict. So if you imagine a chatbot kiosk at the front of an airport, 10 people might approach the kiosk and ask verbally for directions to immigration and security. The chatbot will be able to recognize this question and give directions. However, if the chatbot, or rather the AI behind the chatbot, hears a follow-up question of how long it will take to get through security, it will begin to learn and predict that this question is coming, in much the same way that a human would. So the potential for AI is truly mind-blowing from our side, and the industry is already embracing it. For example, Korean Air, Etihad, Emirates, and EasyJet are already investing heavily in it. So just to give you a flavour of how far AI could change the industry, the chief scientific officer of Chinese tech giant Baidu likened its impact to the harnessing of electricity. He said, just as 100 years ago the electrification of our society transformed industry after industry, I think AI tech has now reached that stage. So it's up to us where we take it from here. So, of course, AI machines are learning, and this opens up a hot topic avenue we'll talk about is the Internet of Things. So, for those of you who are unaware of what the Internet of Things means, so let me briefly describe it. So, very, very briefly, it's machines talking to each other and organizing themselves. So, your fridge recognizes that you're out of milk, it automatically puts it on your online shopping list. In the not too distant future, any machine will be able to communicate with any other machine via the internet. Now imagine all the strands of airports, safety, security, and operational elements communicating with one another and organizing themselves. Ground operations, automatically talking to runway monitoring, automatically talking to baggage handling. Staff too, via their smartphones or wearables, will also be part of this connectedness, as well as passengers. So, if I go now to the utopian environment we'd love to be in now, this is what we're really striving for. What we want is a seamless intermodal international journey. So, it's formally defined as a principle that aims to provide a passenger using different modes of transport a combined trip chain with a seamless journey. So while this is a bit of an awkward definition, the core idea is extremely simple and represents what we all want. The passenger doesn't see their journey as starting and ending when they arrive and leave the airport. They see it as when they've made that final click confirming payment and finishing when they've arrived safely back home. So this is something airports need to be aware of and provide information that the passenger wants every step of the way. If you know that I, the passenger, fly home every Christmas, why not send me a personalised email in October or November with a selection of options? Why not include in the booking ability to include a local cab to my hotel when I arrive, so I need not worry about paying in the local currency, for example? This opens up new opportunities for airports for synergy with local companies and improved revenue streams. Greater synergy between airports, airlines, and local transportation hubs will be great from the passenger standpoint. Why should I visit 6 websites when I can plan out my route and buy my tickets all on one? So, open data sharing between companies is one of the key stumbling blocks from this intermodal seamless future, which is a pity as it hurts the consumer. However, if we are to get to this utopian vision, data sharing is a must. So, in closing, I want to talk a little bit about communication efficiency. So, look, we don't want to get to this point of complete information saturation like in Minority Report. The idea of walking through an airport and being inundated with information and advertising hitting you at every step is not a reality we want. So, we believe here that the future is driven by what the customer wants. The customer typically wants the information that they deem relevant to their journey and little else. So you hear a lot about you can never have too much data, and I respectfully disagree. If I'm in a terminal, I probably wouldn't appreciate constant notifications to my personal phone letting me know the refueling status of my plane. I don't really care about that. So if just-in-time boarding is to become a reality, which is something that as travelers we'd all appreciate, mobile technology will be the driver of this. Giving airlines and airports the possibility to communicate to you throughout the airport means that they can inform you when you should head to the gate. So this concludes the formal side of the webinar. In terms of key takeaways, I think there are a few key points. So many of the products we discussed today aren't so far away, but they'll take a little bit of time to take off globally and indeed time to be maximized. Technologies like the wearable tech, chatbots, Internet of Things are here today, and they'll likely be standard in the years to come. From our perspective, airports need to be constantly investing in tech. And I say invest as there definitely is a tangible return. We've heard a lot about the costs of delays and how it impacts airlines and airports. So we heard recently that every 1 minute of delay costs an airport $62 per minute. So when you consider the flights per day, 365 days a year, this definitely adds up. So one way they can get around this is by providing a good passenger information system and good communication efficiency. Additionally, open data is required for better connectivity between transport agencies. So finally, be efficient with your communications. Remember the passenger walking through the terminal. You don't want to be hearing information at every stop that's not relevant. So be the sniper rifle, not the shotgun. So from our side, that concludes the webinar. I'd like to thank everyone who attended. You can see our email addresses attached there above. So please feel free to drop us an email with some feedback or with some questions that you'd like to have answered. We'll certainly get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks again.